Well, there was some good stuff, but this one was way, way too long. I'm John Renton with my review of AEW Dark Elevation, 16 matches, a showcase, and nearly 2.5 hours. Honestly, I don't really understand why AEW can't help themselves. Yes, they're trying to get talents more ring time, especially since they're going to be touring soon. Somebody did point out that Elevation and Dark will likely go to shorter run times. I hope that's the case. But honestly, this is fucking overkill at this point. Anyway, Adrian Elias versus Jungle Boy with Luchasaurus and Marco Stunt. Could they just leave Stunt in the back? Honestly, he isn't fucking needed. I mean, Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy are a fine duo. So the action was fine. Chops were laid in. Elias, hit a few nice moves and did nearly land on his head with the throw into the corner and then snare trap for the victory. So there you go. Jungle Boy gets a victory. And then Aaron Solo with The Factory took on Dustin Rhodes, who brought the bull rope. Obviously, we're going to get Dustin Rhodes versus Nick Comoroto in a bull rope match, either on Dynamite right after the pay-per-view or at the pay-per-view. Or maybe they'll just have it on Dark Elevation just because, fuck it, why the hell not? Anyway, so Dustin took it to Solo immediately. Referee distraction, so Comoroto attacks, but of course referee Aubrey's like, I'm not going to deal with this. Everybody get out. Everybody get out. Everybody. Just everybody leave. The camera crew, it cut off the feet. No, I'm kidding. She just kicked the Factory out. And then Solo took over for a bit. Dustin fires up. Solo did hit a nice stomp off the ropes and then was going to attempt to use the bull rope, but oh no. Running Bulldog and Dustin was like, I'm going to use the bull rope. Oh, I'm not gonna. I'm going to hit the final cut or whatever he's calling it now. And so he gets a victory. Comoroto runs down to use the bull rope, and Lee Johnson gets a chair, and he's like, no, I'm going to help my buddy. And that's pretty much it. This feud is going nowhere. Even though there's some talent, this feud is going nowhere. It's really goddamn pointless. It's just not good. Despite the talent involved, I'm just not buying into it. So anyway, Moxley and Kingston versus Danny Limelight and Royce Isaacs. I love Danny Limelight. I think he's got a very bright future. And Royce Isaacs, very impressed with him at the indie shows I saw him at. He did well in the brief time he was in the NWA. Moxley and Kingston argue like a married couple, but they work well as a team. Really beautiful tornado DDT by Danny Limelight. Can't praise him enough. Really, really bright, shining star. Great showcase that they had on him, I believe, last week on Dark Elevation. And then we get the Violent Crown, 1, 2, 3. That's the double team finisher that Moxley and Kingston use, and there you go. So they got the victory. And then Archer and Red-Faced Roberts. Good God, Jake Roberts looks terrible. Absolutely terrible. Kids don't do fucking drugs. I mean, you just don't do that. So anyway, said that Bear Bronson shouldn't play with his snake. Phrasing. Then Archer says, well, we're doing this my way, and Miro, I'm coming after you next. So we get the battle, it's the Murder Hawk versus the Bear Hawk, if you will. Hawk! No, it's not over the top. And Roberts is on commentary, did not sound good at all. Some good, big monster mashing action, big men slapping into each other. Archer does dominate at first, Bear does. Hit a nice cannonball in the corner, did hit a dive outside. I was a little bit worried, though, because it seemed like he was either a bit winded or he might have, hurt himself. But it was fine. It was a fine monster battle. I think it went a minute or two too long. Archer did hit a pounce, choke slam, and then the blackout, 1, 2, 3. And then we get a showcase of Ryan Nemeth, who I have called the Dolph Twin, but, that comparison's going to be there. The guy is his own character and has done some good stuff here. He talks about how he feels appreciated in AEW, and that he, talks about, the filming that he's done for TV shows and movies. And his group, which is a mixed bag to say the least. It has some potential and also has Caesar Panini. So his goal is to be the face of AEW. All right. I mean, hey, you know what? If he's somebody that can draw some fans in good, I mean, the guy knows his role and he plays it well. I will say that. Layla Hirsch versus Natalya Markova, who I have never heard of. Layla Hirsch beat her with an armbar pretty quickly. Also hit her with two German suplexes, that dropped her right on her head. But you know what? Layla Hirsch is really talented. I think she's going to be a bright star, not just in AEW, but in wrestling in general. And then Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. Too many pages, too many cages. Versus Jalen Brandon and Trayvon Jordan. I don't know why Sky and Ethan are a team. I have no idea. I mean, but it's just so strange. Heel hook in a couple minutes for the victory. I didn't care. Nothing against the guys. I didn't care. When I met Scorpio Sky, and actually all of SCU, Kazarian and Daniels, Really, really nice guy, and they were a great trio. And Sky's very, very talented. I just don't really see the end game with this team. And then Matt, with his group, talking about how the bunny is more vicious and everything. Allie says, have you ever gone down the rabbit hole, Kylan? Is she coming on to her? I wouldn't complain. Moving on. Kylan King versus the bunny with Matt's group. Kylan can work. Allie does great character work and a lot of cackling and everything and is adequate in the ring. Adequate at best. She's not terrible. I just think that she's much more of a gimmick. We get a distraction, a loaded punch, 1, 2, 3. Kylan King is somebody they could, elevate. And I'm not just talking about, the show elevation. I think she's somebody they really could build around, in the future. I mean, she's a couple of years into her career, but then suddenly Swole, which is a terrible follow-up to Suddenly Susan, but Swole shows up because she's been, teaming up with Kylan King. And Kylan's accompanied her and Red Velvet for various tag matches. This one was okay. It was a little bit. I don't really care for this Hardy group. It's not for me. I don't really see how this collection of characters is beneficial to anybody. It gets them on TV, but whoop-de-doo. Anyway, the Acclaim versus Kevin Bennett and Kevin Blackwood. Kevin on Kevin action. And, of course, he says at one point about one of them, hope you can swallow because you sure can't spit. Max Caster has a way with words. I'm not sure what that way is, but I certainly am entertained. I like the Acclaim. I can't say I've heard of Bennett or Blackwood. I apologize if they are good workers. They didn't do bad stuff here. I just can't say I've necessarily heard of them. But obviously they have some sort of following if they're being brought in. And then mic drop, 1, 2, 3. So it wasn't bad, just wasn't great. Sky and Ethan talk about, I want to say Sky and Paige, but then it sounds like Scorpio Sky and Hangman Page are suddenly a team because too many pages, too many cages. They talk about Darby and Sting. We're obviously getting that match at the pay-per-view. I'd be surprised if it wasn't announced on this, on this upcoming Dynamite. By the way, little side note, pretty interesting that Dynamite, because of the NBA playoffs, is going to be going not head-to-head with SmackDown, but on the same night as SmackDown, preempted because of the playoffs. So, yeah, those reviews are going to be kind of interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how the ratings go, and hopefully Double or Nothing's good because after that popcorn fart for the exploding barbed wire death match, they really need to make Double or Nothing at least a decent to good pay-per-view. They can't have some bullshit happen. Oh wait, Stadium Stampede 2 is happening, so we're going to get some bullshit. Anyway, so we get QT Marshall with the Factory versus Baron Black. This heel QT thing isn't working. I thought it might. It has not worked out. Baron Black can work and hit some good stuff. He had a nice, combo of strikes, atomic drop, backstabber, and after a diving headbutt from QT, even got a crossface on, Baron Black did, but eventually got hit with the cutter, 1, 2, 3. I like that Baron Black's being utilized. Like, the guy's never going to be a world champion or even a mid-card champion in AEW, or at least not the way he's being presented, obviously. Guy's got a good look, and he, does well in tag matches or singles. So I'm glad to see him and others getting featured. And then we get Joey Janela versus a guy named Daniel Garcia. I hope Daniel Garcia gets used differently or, in better matches. Putting Janela in a singles match is not a good idea. This didn't work. Commentary mentioned Janela's deathmatch work, which isn't wrestling, by the way, and it's not because of him. Deathmatch wrestling isn't fucking wrestling. Check out my, the ultra-violence of Nick Gage Dark Side of the Ring review if you want to hear how I fucking feel about deathmatch wrestling. DVD where he nearly spikes him on his goddamn head, or practically does. 1, 2, 3. One hardly needs to go on about this match. So, the Factory talks at, the crap city of Jacksonville, and Anthony Monster Agogo talks about how, there are people dying on the streets because they can't afford health care, and they, this country, pushes money over people, which is true in some respects, a lot of respects, and kids in cages, and calls Cody a piss boy. Man, Anthony Ogogo really delivered his shit well here. I will say that. I think it's good to have somebody, cut in for him and have him, have a manager, but I'll tell you this. He delivers his shit well, and he obviously means what he says, and he's not wrong. Lived in this country all my life, he's not wrong. So anyway, Private Party with the Hardy Group versus Five and Reynolds with the Dark Order. Why is this feud going on? Why is this feud? Why is this happening? Why are Private Party in street clothes? Why am I watching this? Ref tosses everybody out. Everybody. Again, Aubrey. Aubrey tossing everybody out. The camera's cut out. I kid. Love Aubrey. Great representation of Washington State. And later, Matt runs back down, despite the fact the referee's distracted. Well, actually, I actually don't think it was Aubrey. I think it was another referee. It wasn't Aubrey. I apologize. I apologize for slandering Aubrey's name. I love Aubrey. The different referee who got distracted, because every referee gets distracted here. And then later, Matt runs down, hits Twist of Fate, and one of the Private Party members tops him 1, 2, 3. I don't know who. I don't care. We get a beat down, and then we get belt choking, and Dark Order runs down to do their shit. Marvez is going to interview Chris Statlander. Britt interrupts. Sheeta comes in and knocks the crutch out of Reba's hand. This is how you're utilizing your women. Great way to build up your women's championship match for Double or Nothing that's happening in less than 2 weeks. Good shit there. It's no wonder the Sheeta's reign hasn't really meant all that much. JD Drake and Ryan Nemeth versus Rona Rosal and Derek Pistaro with First Sergeant. What in the name of TurboGrafx 16 is going on here? It's like they were the military bushwhackers. And apparently one of them was actually in the military. It's just the garb. It's just the weird. Anyway, Drake does have something. Rude Awakening, Moonsault 1, 2, 3. Maybe these, sergeant guys can be brought in and they can be utilized differently. I don't know the point. Footage of a Forbes magazine shoot being interrupted by Britt and Sheeta having a really lame pull apart. Again, not the best way to build your women's feud. And then Ty Conte versus Kaya Dream. Boy, Ty really has improved a lot. And there were kicks and chops and more kicks and DD Ty 1, 2, 3. Dream over. And then Hardy's group was talking about something. I don't care. Matt is upset at the Dark Order. And then Penta with Alex. Alex just so goddamn great. Versus a guy named Robo. Please sign Robo. Or at least bring him back for more stuff. This guy has a good look. And Penta, hit a lot of kicks, got an arm breaker, hit the package driver 1, 2, 3. But Robo had, a few good shots. Thunder Rosa versus Robin Renegade. What in the flash dance was that hair is what I kept wondering. And then I'm talking on Robin. But you know what? I'm not really familiar with her. She hasn't wrestled all that long. Thunder Rosa spectacular. Sudden sling blade by Robin, which wasn't that bad. And then, the trap, I don't remember what she calls it. I got to write this down sometime. I apologize because I love Thunder Rosa. But she got a trap submission. Good stuff. And then we get Nemeth's group. And JD Drake is upset because, he doesn't know what's going on. But he's like, I'm glad you found your mean streak. And then Mike Seidel with Matt. Easy for me to say. Took on Brian Cage with a hook. Why is the FTW Championship a thing? I wondered this back when it was first created. So, yeah, okay, Mike did try to do some stuff, did hit a moonsault outside, but Cage basically glommed him, dominated him, Weapon X, 1, 2, 3. There you go, that's it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.